glad you're here. So for today's Sunday Talk video, I want to get to the point about cursing and cussing. And I'm sure that's a habit probably many of us have gone into these days. It's pretty normal for, people to just go around and cuss. It's about as naturally as breathing, to be quite honest. Honestly, that's a bad habit I used to have. I used to cuss so much I probably could have cursed a sailor right off his boat, and you can take that analogy as humorous as you will. But that was the honest to God truth. I used to swear quite a lot, but that's a habit I am happy that the Lord helped me to tone down significantly to almost nothing at all. These days, I really am trying to watch my words. I know that's probably even a circumstance that happened in some of my earliest YouTube videos. There were quite a few swear words in there, even an F-bomb, I think, at one point. But it is good not to have to say those words, because as Jesus instructed us in the Gospel of Matthew, in Matthew 15:11, what goes into someone's mouth does not defile them, but what comes out of their mouth, that is what defiles them. Now, for a little context behind that verse, the Pharisees were having another little spat with Jesus. They were always trying to have a confrontation with him, try to catch him and say, "Oh, gotcha, now we can expose you as a fraud." They lost every time, of course. But the context behind this, again, another discussion with the Pharisees. And he was basically saying, Jesus was saying, it's what comes out of the heart, not what goes in, is what defiles a man. This was a discussion about clean and uncleanliness, about food, and what he basically declared in that moment was that all food that you eat is clean, because I know there was a dispute in the Old Testament about that. But it's also what comes out of a man. It's the flesh versus the spirit, right? It's what comes out of a man. We should represent Christ, but sometimes it is our sinful flesh, and that's sometimes it can take the form of cussing, mind you. So the chapter I want to look at today in the Bible comes actually from Isaiah 6, and this is when he was being called to be a prophet. And it says at the beginning of Isaiah 6, and we're only going to go up to about verses 7 to 8, says, "In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above it stood seraphim, each one had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one cried to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, the whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts at the door were shaken by the voice of him who cried out, and the whole house was filled with smoke. So I said, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips, for my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then one of the seraphim flew to me, having in his hand a live coal which he had taken with the tongs from the altar. And he touched my mouth with it, and said, Behold, this has touched your lips. Your iniquity is taken away, and your sin is purged." So that came from the prophet Isaiah, and we can basically infer from there. Honestly, back in biblical times, it's hard to say what swear words and cussing would have been prevalent around them at the time. I mean, obviously, we have a cuss library of words of sorts, but it's hard to say what would have constituted as cussing or cursing back then, because even I believe in some translations when Peter denied Jesus the 3rd time, and he lashed out at the person claiming, "Oh, you're one of Jesus' disciples," and he says, "No, I am not." It says that he let out a curse. Some take it to mean that he was swearing in that moment because of his frustration. We can only assume that was the case. Some translations it says this. Some translations says he was not cursing. Again, that depends on also what gospel you look at. Because some gospels will say that he let out a curse, some say he did not. He simply just denied Jesus 3 times. But going back to what I said earlier, we can even look back at Ephesians 4:29. It says, "Let no corrupt word proceed out of your mouth, but what is good for necessary edification, that it may impart grace to the hearers." So we can see in that moment that the Lord does not exactly delight in us when we decide to cuss. Sometimes, and I will admit, something will pop out every once in a while, whether we're frustrated, we stub a toe, we drop something, our computer crashes and we lose a lot of good files, or something else happens at work. Understandably so, it is naturally for us humans to sometimes let a word go. Should we let these cusses go? Just come out of our mouths naturally? No. Some people do make it a habit to use, again, like the F bomb or something for every other word, which is not okay. I know I had a former employer, even, who probably should have got a hold of this topic, where he says, "Oh, yeah, I'm a born again Christian, but we cuss. We like to cuss around here. And I even like to listen to music with a lot of cussing." Again, one of those people where he used the F bomb basically almost every other word. If you're claiming to be a born again Christian, but you're saying F you to basically anything, I would maybe analyze your dialogue a little bit, maybe how you come across. It could be a heart problem in here as well. Just, again, no one's perfect. Again, I will admit, sometimes I'm guilty. If I get extremely angry, I let a word go. But then I have to take it back, say, "Lord, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that earlier. I'm sorry for my cussing." If you want to look for similar verses out of the Bible that relate to this, we can even look into James 3:10, where it says, "Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this should not be." Again, what I was just referring to about my former employer just a minute ago. But also in 1 Peter 3:10, now we're going to use an example from Peter again. Perhaps he learned from himself in a way. I mean, he had a habit of just speaking before he was thinking. That was just how Peter was before he matured. But it says in 1 Peter 3:10, "Whoever would love life and see good days must keep their tongue from evil and their lips from deceitful speech." Again, sometimes maybe it's also just best, whether we're frustrated or not, to just keep our mouths shut, right? Sometimes we just don't need to speak even about everything. It's best sometimes if someone's talking to you to not talk over them. Just sit and listen. Just sit and listen to what they have to say. It's like, okay, I see where you're going there. Or, maybe they say something that you disagree with, or they say something that makes you really mad because they really poke at you and offend you. I've learned to honestly just keep my mouth shut about it. Rather than start a fight, just keep it together. Don't say anything. Because if you say anything, you're just going to cause a problem. Again, that can go back to cussing as well. To not cuss, maybe it's just better not to say anything at all. Because out of our sinful flesh can come deceitful speech. But from our spiritual nature, let's relish and praise and worship from our lips instead. Anyway, that's all I have for today's Bible study video. I hope you enjoyed and took in what I had to say. Good book has a lot of good wisdom, information, and advice that is so helpful and applicable to our everyday lives. I am so thankful the good Lord has given us a Bible, His living word, to live by, because how truly sweet and wonderful it is. But that's all I have for today, so thank you for tuning into the 20th Century Dude video, and hope to catch you on the fly. See you, God bless you all, and do watch your potty mouth a little.